In June and July, I shared with you ways that you could up-level your consciousness, your awareness, your thoughts, your words, your feelings. Because when we do that, we're up-leveling mass consciousness. And it's really time to do that now, isn't it? Yeah. And then last month, I shared some ideas with you on moving beyond judgment and limitation and fear of stepping into our power. And this month, I'm going to do part 2 of that. I reminded you of the Hopi Elder Prophecy, which I've repeated more than once here. And the last line of that is, we are the ones we've been waiting for. And then I reminded you of the Marianne Williamson quote, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It's not our light, but our darkness that most frightens us. Wow. And since our light is our divine power, I talked to you about the difference between power over and power with. And it's really the power over that we fear we're going to get into if we think about power. Power, someone having power over us, or maybe we're having power over other people and possibly harming them. So that's really where the fear is. And I asked you a question. What if we dropped our judgment and embraced the idea that all really is well? Like the first song we sang today, God is love and all is well. God is peace and all is well. What if we embrace the idea that all is truly well and everything's just as it's supposed to be? There's nothing wrong. It's all in divine order. And we do this sometimes, don't we? But then we might turn on the news and think, how can that be? How can that be? And I reminded you of what keeps us most stuck in limitation. Our judgment and our fear. Our judgment and our fear. Our judgment and our fear. But we can transcend that. We can do it without work, without effort, without struggle, without trying to make things happen. And so many of us were conditioned that that's what you do. You work hard, you effort, you struggle, you earn things, right? But that's not the truth. That's not really the way. It's more into allowing. The only doing that we have to do is to let go of our judgment. Let go of our fear. Let go. It can be as easy as, okay, I've got a pen, I'm holding on to it, which really takes a little bit of effort, not much. But if I just relax my hand, relax my fingers, it just falls away, doesn't it, on its own? No effort there. And the key is that if I'm done with that, if I've truly let it go, then I don't put my attention on it anymore. I don't go back and pick it up. I can put my attention on something else, what I want. And we do the same thing. We can do the same thing with judgment and fear. Just simply, effortlessly, easily let it go. And then put our attention elsewhere. And don't pick that back up. Don't pick it back up. And I shared the need for and the benefits of letting go of judgment in 3 areas. Judgment of ourselves, judgment of others, and then the judgment of all thought. Now, I've been practicing letting go of judgment of myself and others for years, and I still practice every day because it comes up every day. But the more I practice, the less I have of it, or the quicker I can let it go. But the letting go of judgment of all thought was kind of a new concept to me, and it might be to some of you too. The judgment of all thought. Because it's all thought that has created everything we're experiencing in our lives today. All thought has created everything. All thought has created everything in our lives today. Then I asked you, what would happen if you could move beyond judgment of all thought? Does anyone remember or know what, or think you would know what might happen if we let go of judgment of all thought? we'd definitely be more at peace, like that song says, like our affirmation said today. But what we would really do when we are able to really give up judgment of all thought, is that we will remember who we really are. We will know that we are divine beings. We will know that we are one with Source. We will know the truth of the affirmation we say, there is only one presence. God, the good, omnipotent. We'll know that. We'll live it. And judgment of the thinking of humankind, that all thought, the thinking of humankind, and the resulting creations keeps us powerless. Keeps us powerless and stuck in the belief that we are not free. We are not free. And I reminded you that we can release our fearful judgments simply by becoming aware of them. With one condition: as long as we do not continue to have them or judge ourselves for having them. And it's very simple, but easy, not so much, is it? Until you practice and practice and practice, and it becomes easier and easier and easier with the practice. Just like playing a musical instrument or learning a sport. And then at the end of my talk last month, I encouraged you to, for the whole month following up until today, practice becoming conscious, becoming aware of your judgments. Just noticing them without judgment of yourself. Just noticing them. That's all I asked you to do. And I've been noticing a lot of my judgments, and I'm sure some of them slip by unnoticed maybe. But it's practice, practice, practice. But in order to release your fears that arise from your judgments, it's important to realize the things that you at the human level fear in relation to that. Those are the same reasons you fear your power, your light. And after I mention each thing, there'll be 5 of them. I'm going to ask you some questions, but they're just for you to answer in your own thoughts, not for you to answer to me. So the first one is fear of punishment. So I ask you, are you ever afraid of being harmed, punishment, or hurt by speaking your truth or by stepping into your power? I don't go into the stories of when that happened. Just be aware of the fear that comes up now. And realize that all such fears hold you in powerlessness, hold you in judgment and fear. And you can release your fear of punishment simply by continually becoming aware of it when it comes up and not picking it back up. Second is fear of humiliation. Are you afraid that if you really shared your thoughts and spoke your truth, that you would be humiliated by others or feel humiliated yourself? Again, don't go into the stories. People that go back into the story of times that they were humiliated or felt things like this go back into judgment of themselves and judgment of the others. So don't go back into your stories. Just stay conscious in the present moment without more judgment. Third is fear of rejection. Notice any judgmental thoughts that you might have that your family members could reject you, or that your friends could reject you, or that people you love or admire could reject you. Or maybe you fear being rejected because of your religion, which some people think unity is a cult, you know, or have thought that, or your political beliefs, or your sexual orientation, or any beliefs you might have. Do you fear being rejected for any of those? Just notice what comes up without going back into judgment of yourself or others. Then fear of isolation. Do you fear that if you speak your truth, or stand up in your power, or say what you really feel, that you'll be outcast? You'll be isolated, separate, disconnected, alone, all alone. Notice what comes up for you. Stay in the present moment without going back into the stories, without adding any other judgment. And feel the God in you. Feel the love in you. Feel the divine power in you. And the last one, fear of abusing power and harming others. I have heard people say in a past life they hurt a lot of people and they abused their power, and they don't want to do that in this life. Or some people have seen the effects of the abuse of power over and don't want to be any part of that. But consider this, not stepping into your power is abuse of power. Keeping the lid on it, ignoring it, that's abuse of power. Now here's a question I'm going to ask you. You can answer for me. Have you ever been afraid to do something or say something, yet you got up the courage to do it or say it anyway, and what you feared never happened, and what happened instead was something really amazing and wonderful? Anybody ever experienced that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I bet we all have many times. Many times. So let us keep remembering that. And remember, fear, F-E-A-R, for that acronym, one of the things is false evidence appearing real. It's just false evidence. And once you face that fear, you find out how false it was. So I encourage you to notice the fear and speak your truth, step into your power, do what your spirit guides you to do anyway, and get the amazing results. And as you start to rise above your judgments and your fears and your limitations, you will start seeing the most glorious world appearing before you. The most glorious life appearing before you. And I know you've seen that at times. And it's going to keep better and better, getting better and better and more glorious as you rise above those things. Just let them go. Don't pick them up again. We're capable of so much more than we can now imagine. So much more, so much more. And it's time for us to keep stepping into that. Energy already exists. You can't destroy energy. It can change form, but it's energy, God, divinity. It's all here. It's all that is. And energy is waiting for us to direct it. We are directors of energy. I once thought I'd make up a little business card and say, Judee, like, director of energy. See what people would say, but I haven't done that yet. But we are directors of energy, and we direct our energy through our thoughts, our words, our feelings, by the words that we speak, by affirmations, by prayer, by intention, by where we put our attention, all of those things. Once we realize we are divine power, we are the power of God. We are God in physical form, this earth suit, expressing beyond judgment, where forgiveness is a non-issue, because God is an all-loving, all-powerful God. There's nothing to forgive, so we can strike that word from the dictionary. And we don't need to draw love and light to us. We don't need to surround ourselves with love and light. We are the love and light. It is us. I can't think of how many times I've said, oh, I surround myself with love and light. We are the love and light. We no longer look for it to come outside of ourselves. We know it's right here. And we can flow it out. And remember that I'm talking about the power with here, not the power over. Again, no effort, no struggle, no hard work, no manipulation, no trying to make things happen. Oh my gosh, think of how much energy we have if we gave all that up. When we give all that up. Yes, and we are giving it up. And daily, in the news, we see people who are using power over, trying to use power over. And we are seeing more and more people standing up in their own power to talk about what they want, what they believe in, what they're going to do to make a positive difference. Not just in politics, but in all kinds of things that are happening in our society. And we can also see a lot of judgment of others and blame flying back and forth, can't we? What does that do? It just keeps us stuck in our limitation, in our fears. That's not the way to go. And we are seeing more and more that those who have been trying to use power over, it's not working for them. It's like karma. Yeah. And they lose that kind of power. And we're being shown how that doesn't really work in the long run, and now we're even being shown that it's not really working in the short run either. And we're being shown what results from the feeling of hate, which is caused by judgment, fear, and blame. So we are being called into our power. You ever think you hear your name called? You turn around, there's no voice there. No body there. Might be calling you into your power, to remembering the truth about ourselves. We're being called to return to love. And when we don't answer the calls get louder, don't they? Yeah. Or the things that happen get bigger to say, it's time, it's time, it's time. And we're starting to move beyond the experiment of free will on this planet into being aligned and reemerged into divine will, which we find is way more magnificent than our own will could ever have been. I remember years ago when I first started hearing people talk about not my will, but God's will be done. And I'm just thinking, I'm not sure God knows exactly what all I want. And I struggled with that for a while. But then when I learned to let go and let God and got all these magnificent manifestations, I knew, God's will, my will is God's will, is the way to go. Yet we need to move beyond the judgment of all thought and the creations that result from that in order to realign with divine will. Because God, divine will, source, does not judge anything, because God is all there is. Everything is of God, everything is God. The only presence in our lives, in our world, in the universe. Wow. All this could feel like a lot to take in. I gotta step into my power. Whoa. How do I let go of all this stuff, I gave you some tips, but yet I'd say just practice, practice, practice. And I'll repeat what I said last week. Take what I said that resonates with you and just leave the rest without judgment. You'll know what resonates for you, and that's what you'll take home with you. And how long have we been repeating the opening statement, either in this Unity Church or another church that we visit? Repetition, 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 till we really get it in every cell in our body. So once again, let's say it together. There is only one presence in this church, in my life, and in the universe, God, the good, omnipotent. All right. And it's time to integrate that in every cell in our body. It's time to live it. It's time to be it. It's time to know it. In John chapter 14, verse 12, Jesus said this, "Very truly, I tell you, whoever believes in me will do the works I have been doing, And they will do even greater things than these, because I am going to the Father. And in John chapter 10, verse 30, he said, I and the Father are one. So he was a model and an example for us, as others have been. And it's been said that many religions used religion to have power over people. And those religions would teach that it was sacrilegious, evil even, that man, woman, could be God. And that would be a sin that you would be eternally condemned to hell for, right? So no wonder so many are fearful of stepping into their power, because they've had generations of that kind of teaching. Unity teaches things much differently. Unity was never designed to be a religion. It's not a religion. It's a set of beliefs and philosophy, I guess you'd call it. I don't know. It started out as a prayer ministry. But I feel very blessed to have been introduced to it through the Wee Wisdom magazine when I was 5 years old, and then ever since I've been, periodically growing up, introduced to all the Unity teachings. And I like to refer to Charles Fillmore's book, The Revealing Word, a lot. And so I looked up the word God, and it had a lot on that. And I just read it through, and I took what resonated most with me in the moment, and I'll share those with you. God as principle is absolute good expressed in all creation. Absolute good expressed in all creation. When humans know God, they recognize him as this great goodness, omnipresent, omniscient, and omnipotent. Everywhere present, all-knowing, all-powerful. We recognize him within us as our indwelling life, intelligence, love, and power. God is spirit, the principle of intelligence and life, everywhere present at all times. And as we express divine power while we're in this human form, body, as Jesus did, we begin to understand, first just by glimpses, and then bigger and bigger knowings and sightings. Everything is perfect. Everything is perfect just the way it's supposed to be. There's this quote that I remembered, and I looked it up, and a lot of people attribute it to Buddha, and then a lot of other people say, no, it wasn't Buddha, but no one has another suggestion for who it wasn't. It doesn't really matter, because when I read it, the truth of it just resonated with me, and that's when you realize how perfect everything is, you will tilt your head back and laugh at the sky. And again, the power I speak about is not that force, that effort, that control. It's allowing all things to be done through you, because divine energy in you flows through you. And all you do is allow it. And as you allow greater and greater levels of your divine power, the cells in your body regenerate, restore, and rejuvenate. Regenerate, restore, and rejuvenate. Wow. Think of that. Think of the possibilities for that. That's a good reason to level up our consciousness and step into our power, I would think. But they regenerate in alignment with the level of power, the level of light that's expressing through you. So keep flowing that love and light out. Maybe be gentle with and kind and loving to our bodies. Now is not the time to push our bodies. It's time to nurture and nourish our bodies as we are stepping into more love and light and power. We're going through a stage of transcendence. We're transcending limitation, fear, and judgment. We are to take the time now to allow our bodies to do what it needs to do to regenerate, restore, and rejuvenate. Our love will do this. Our light will do this. Not any love out there, not any light out there, light out there. Our love and our light that we are is doing this. And we're just beginning to realize what's possible for us. And we'll get to that point where when we realize how perfect it all is. Yet, to see the perfection of all that is, we've got to first see the perfection that's within us, the perfection that is us. is us, just like self-love comes before we can love everything else out. So become aware of, affirm, accept, allow the perfection that is you. And you're not able to see the perfection of all that is if you're looking through the lens of fear, judgment, or limitation. You can't see it. It's clouded. Like I had to clean my glasses, you know. Can't see it. And you may have already had experiences where you realize the perfection of it all. I know I've had 2 such experiences. Each one lasted only a few minutes at most, but it was so, I just absolutely knew that everything was perfect, that all was well. There was nothing I had to do, be, or say differently. It was all perfect. And when you have those touchstones to go back to you, to bring them back, that feeling that you had, that keeps us transcending and up-leveling. And if you haven't had one yet, you will have one, and another, and another, and another. That moment can be now. Decide, choose, intend, remember your perfection. Step into your power. You are the one you have been waiting for.